So good to see you. If I haven't met you yet, I'm Chad. It's great to be with you today, and I'm excited about today. Like, it is almost Christmas. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Do you guys love some Christmas? Like, I love some Christmas. And I tell you, Amanda and I, we do this little thing where it's like you try to get ahead. You know, you start out like getting gifts and stuff, people you love, like early, and you think you have it like all figured out. And then the closer it gets, the more stuff you see that you want to get for people, right? And I'm thinking maybe I should just start getting gifts about 2 weeks out instead of 4 weeks out. Because I start getting all these good ideas. It's like, man, love it. I'm so excited. So excited. Are you guys good gift givers? Yeah? Anybody know? Oh, buddy, you need to pray about that, man. Like, the Lord will help you there. Remember last week, like, we were praying about, like, good gifts? So important, so important. Christmas is on a Sunday this year, which is kind of crazy, right? Can be fun if you're not a pastor. If you are, it's kind of like, oh, really? Which seems like that shouldn't be the case, but it is. So one of the things, we're doing a couple things that weekend. It's going to be so fun, and you'll get a little invitation on your way out. There's the Crossroads Innkeeper story is on the 23rd at 6:30. It's a fun little interactive thing for kids. They just love it. We do it every year. It's an absolute blast. And then at 8:30 on the 23rd, we do a candlelight communion. And that's for folks who don't want the innkeeper's, story thing with the kids and stuff. It's great. It's a great time. In with Silent Night, candlelight. Just super fun. Great chance for you to bring somebody with you. On the card you'll get to on your way out, there's a blank space there. It's not because Pastor Matt kind of, forgot and goofed something up. It was intentional. And that's for you to write a note to someone to invite them. So these cards are not your reminders. You just got yours, all right? These cards are actually for you to invite someone else to come and be with you on the 23rd. And then on Sunday, Christmas Day, we're doing Pajama Christmas at 11 a.m. Now, that does mean that you can wear your pajamas and come. However, what's behind it is this: you don't have to put on your Sunday best to come on Christmas. Just wake up, open presents. We do green pancakes at our house. My mom always did green pancakes for us. Amanda thinks it's kind of weird. I think, how can you have Christmas without green pancakes? That seems kind of weird not to. So we're going to do green pancakes and fresh squeezed orange juice and the real, good, thick bacon. You know what I'm saying? I think Jesus, it's appropriate his birthday to have bacon, and he's super excited about it. We're going to celebrate with him. And then we're gonna come over here at 11, and I'm debating on new Christmas pajamas or my animal onesie I got from my brother a couple years ago. So, but we'll see. It depends what we can, how we can get Pastor Matt in one or not. So I haven't given him his Christmas present yet. So you never know, buddy. You never know. You never know. But again, you may have folks who are around you who think, man, that sounds great, Pajama Christmas. We'd love to have you guys here on Christmas Day if you're in town. Last week, we started continued a journey in preparation for Christmas. And we talked about we need to prepare well. We want to win this Christmas. We don't want to get to January and think to ourselves, gosh, that was so stressful. I'm so glad that's over with. I'm so glad it's only one time a year. That's not the response that I want to have. I want to get done and say, man, we won this year. We won. We got everything out of Christmas that God wanted for us. And so we talked about that. In order for that to happen, we've got to prepare well. And we spent some time just listing some of those very important things throughout your life this year that you can do, just some steps you can do to get ready for that. We're going to keep pressing into that today. We started looking at John the Baptist last week. We're going to continue that conversation this morning. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 11. If you have your Bibles with you or on your phone, you can open those up or read on the screen. And you'll remember John the Baptist and Jesus, they've got an interesting relationship. They're cousins. Right? We were thinking this morning during the morning prayer, do you have cousins like you enjoy? Like I had some cousins, like they taught me how to shoot bottle rockets out of a wiffle ball bat, how to hold a Roman candle and shoot those. We would have those wars growing up together in the summertime. We taught each other how to sneak out of our houses. We taught each other how to make sure if nobody's room is locked that you bring shaving cream when they're asleep and you put it, like we had some fun, right? As kids, we would stay up late playing basketball against each other, playing scatter over the neighborhoods. Some of those times with my cousins, some of my best memories. Well, I kind of imagine, the gospel writers don't show us a lot of Jesus' childhood. But certainly Jesus and John were somewhat close. I mean, Mary walks all the way to see Elizabeth pregnant with Jesus when Elizabeth is pregnant with John. And John kind of leaps in her womb. They go way back. I mean, I imagine them having some fun together as cousins. But then you grow up, right? You grow up and my cousins are doing amazing things in their life, and I hope that in some way, sort of fashion, that I'm doing some amazing things in mine. And now our stories, as we're growing, we have our own families. And we find John in the first part of Matthew 11. He's in prison. He's been the one that has kind of probably lowered himself. He's known Jesus all his life. And he's the one that points to him and says, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one I'm preparing the way for. In the first part of the Gospel of John, he says to Andrew, Andrew's been a disciple of John's, and he says to Andrew, you want to go with him. He's the one you've been waiting for. We find John now, he's in prison. Life has led him to this place. And in the first part of chapter 11, he wants to know, is it really going on? It's almost as if he's saying to his cousin, are you everything that I've ever hoped you would be? Like as I've walked with you and talked with you and been with you all of your life, are you really the one? And he sends some people to go and ask Jesus that. And Jesus comes back and remember what he says? He says, you tell John, you tell my cousin, the lame walk, the deaf hear, the blind they see. The good news has been preached to the poor. The dead are raised. It says, you tell John everything that you thought is really happening. And then Matthew kind of gives us this little glimpse at the end of chapter 11 that's kind of just an interesting thing we're going to press into today that I think will be helpful for us as we prepare for Christmas. Verse 18, for John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Yet wisdom is justified by her deeds. All right, so just a couple things I want to point out today as we're kind of diving into this. As we look at Jesus and John the Baptist, there's an interesting dichotomy that takes place. John's kind of a prude, He's kind of a fuddy-duddy. He's very conservative. And then Jesus, on the other hand, he's kind of like a heathen, they think, right? Like he's kind of like a party animal. I mean, his very first miracle is he's at a wedding. There are jugs of wine, 40 gallons in each to be exact, and they're bone dry because everybody's partying. And what does he do? He multiplies it into more. But it's interesting, the same people that speak against John as this kind of fuddy-duddy prude are the same people that reject Jesus as a heathen. It's this reality that they're not going to please people. They're not going to please people. They're not going to please everyone. And we see it over and over again that whenever it's John or Jesus, they're not going to please everyone. And they don't operate in a way where they try to please everyone. And why is that? It's because Jesus and John, they know who they are and who they belong to. Jesus and John, and Jesus who models it for us, he's secure in his identity. He knows who he is and who he belongs to. And so Jesus is never concerned about pleasing people. He's concerned about pleasing his Father. That's what he's concerned about. He's concerned about bringing glory to the Father, not pleasing people. And so what happens is we see in their two lives, they don't live lives reacting to how people feel. They live proactive lives because they know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Now, why is that important for us today? Here's why it's important. There's a trap that's set for you right now. Satan is setting a trap for you and for me this Christmas. And the trap is this, for you to try to please everyone. That's the trap that's set for you. Satan would love for your Christmas to be about people pleasing. Because if it is, you'll miss out on all the joy that God has for you. Because it'll be more about you pleasing everyone instead of experiencing the gift of what God's given you in Jesus. Now, here's my thought. My thought is, unless I'm secure in my identity and I know who I am and whose I am, I'll fall into the trap. My opinion is this: unless you are secure in your identity, in other words, unless you know who you are and whose you are, you're going to fall into the trap. As a kid growing up with my cousins, whenever we got together, we would always set traps. My grandma had like an upstairs attic that was full of junk, but it was carpeted, and she let us play up there when we would go and see her. And as you walked up the steps, there were kind of these banisters that were on each side. And we would put things on the doors so when we'd make a lot of noise on purpose and someone else would walk through it and then it would just all fall on her. And I think they knew we were doing it all the time, but we thought it was just so funny. And then if anyone went to sleep and their door wasn't locked, you could bet shaving cream was coming every single time. Right? I remember once my little brother, he was like maybe 5 or 6, and he just wanted to hang out with the guys. My mom said, "Dave, I don't think you want to sleep with them up there." And he's like, "Oh, I want to." So sure enough, he went to sleep first. We put a big bunch of shaving cream in his hand, started tickling his nose, and finally she wipes it here and then all through his hair. It's just a mess. Finally, he wakes up and, "You guys put shaving cream on me," right? And runs to mom and dad, right? It's easy we love setting those traps. It's easy for us. We're going to fall into a trap this year if we don't know who we are and whose we are. The reality is this: to live a life this Christmas trying to please people is not a life at all. To live a life this Christmas trying to please everyone is not a life at all. A life of pleasing people is a life of reaction and not proaction. Reaction is this: allowing others to dictate the mode of how we operate and spend our time this Christmas. Proaction is to know who we are regardless of how people respond to us. we operate in a way that we're true to our identity in Christ. When it comes to Christmas, preparation means proactively knowing who I am and whose I am. Preparation for you when it comes to Christmas is knowing first and foremost who you are and whose you are, instead of floating through Christmas reacting to everyone. When we react to everyone and play the people-pleasing game, it's always a game where we sell ourselves short and we sell those short who are closest to us. But when you and I are proactive about Christmas, it creates space to turn Christmas into rest instead of work, because we know who or what to say yes to and who or what to say no to. So does Christmas feel like work to you today? Does it feel like work trying to figure out what am I going to do over the next 3 weeks with all the people in my life? Does it feel like work saying, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do this? It shouldn't be that way. Christmas should be rest. It should be joy. It should be party time for us. If I feel like Christmas is work for me, there's a good chance that a piece of what I'm running after this Christmas is pleasing people. If Christmas feels like work to you, there may be a good chance that a piece of what you're running after this Christmas is pleasing people. When I want to please people, what I feel is I feel stretched thin because I start reacting to the way I perceive you perceive me. And I think that happens with a lot of us. When we're trying to please people, we feel stretched thin because you're reacting to the way you perceive someone to be perceiving you. Christmas should be a blast. It should be a time to enjoy all the gifts that God's given you and to feel no guilt about the joy of the experience. Jesus would never want you or me to feel guilty about his birthday party. Right? He would not want you or I to feel guilty about celebrating his birthday. That's what Christmas is. He was born, maybe, I don't know, I guess it's 25th. I don't know if they did December like that back then. I don't know. But it's the time that we celebrate that he was born. It's his birthday. It's his day. You all have a day when you celebrate your birthday. This is Jesus' day, and he invites all of us to the party. And the last thing he wants is for you to feel guilty at his party, right? That's the last thing that he wants, all right? Babies are loving a conversation this morning. Hey, it's fine. My grandfather, he was in his second career as a pastor, and my dad was preaching. They used to have revivals back then. My dad was preaching at my grandfather's church one time, and in that church, the kids just kind of like roamed around all during the service. They had pews and stuff, and they would crawl everywhere. And Dad was preaching one night, and he looked down, and one little boy had crawled up around where the pulpit was, and he looked at him and went and shot him dead right there. And Dad got home that night and said to my grandfather, his dad said, "Dad, you got to do something about those kids in that church." And my grandfather said, "Boy, if you can't preach over a child, you need to go ahead and turn your license in right now." So funny, so funny. So it doesn't bother me, guys. All right. So for us, as we're thinking about this, Christmas should be a blast. He would never want you to feel guilty. Here's the reality. You're not going to please everyone this Christmas. Okay? That's just not going to happen. Some people are going to hate your gift. I'm the worst gift receiver on the planet. Like every time I get a gift, I think, well, if I was given that to me, I probably would have done this with it. I just think how I can improve it. It's how I'm wired. I know it's awful, and I'm working on being more graceful with it, but I'll probably hate your gift, right? Like I'm one of those guys, right? So somebody's not going to like your gift this Christmas. That's going to happen. Some grandparents aren't going to get visited. Some aunt and uncles aren't going to get seen. Somebody's not going to get to hold the new baby. Like you're not going to please everyone this Christmas. Somebody's going to want you to be generous, to sacrifice loving on your kids just to make them happy. Here's the big question in the midst of all of that. Do you have clarity of how the Father wants you to spend your big brother's birthday? Because that's who Jesus is. He's not just God in the flesh, which He is that, but because of His life and His death on the cross and His resurrection, He made all of us who were orphans now sons and daughters. We are a part of God's family, and our big brother's birthday is 2 weeks from today. And He wants us all to celebrate. The question is, do you and I have clarity of how the Father has called us to enjoy our big brother's birthday? Do you have clarity of the places where you need to spend your time? You're going to have to make some choices. Do you have clarity about it? Do you know the conversations that you need to have this Christmas? Do you know the gifts that you need to go above and beyond on? Who are the people that you need to say yes to? And where do you need to say no? And here's what I want you to know. You have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to enjoy Christmas. How about that? Wouldn't that be fun? You have the freedom to enjoy Christmas. You have the freedom for Christmas to be about rest for you and not work. You have the freedom to say no to people pleasing and to say yes to how the Father wants you to celebrate this day. Here's the deal. Satan wants you to be distracted, which will lead to a Christmas of being stressful and work and miss the party. Satan wants you to miss the party this Christmas. Guarantee it. Jesus, however, doesn't want you to be distracted. Jesus wants you to be focused in a way that leads to joy and peace and to enjoy the party for all that it's worth. You don't have to please people and earn your place this Christmas, because Jesus has already earned a place for you. And because of Jesus, the Father is pleased with you. It is about experiencing the pleasing over your life. It absolutely is about that at Christmas. But don't give in to the idolatry, that's the worship of another God, by allowing you trying to earn the pleasing of others to be the pleasing you long for this Christmas. The pleasing that is for you is because of Jesus. And the Father is pleased with you because of Him. Enjoy that pleasing this year. Allow all your yeses to come from that and everything else to be a no. And I just believe with all of my heart, if you'll prepare that way, you'll set yourself up and your family to experience a joy in Christmas that will be complete rest and peace and hope in your life. Good? All right, let's pause there for today. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to just take a couple of moments. and to just think, what's the one thing today that's standing out to you? You may be thinking of those places where you need to say yes. There may be something standing out to you today of where are all the places I'm tempted right now to please people. I don't know, wherever it may be here this morning. What's the one thing that's standing out to you today? And that's probably the place that the Lord wants to press in today. He's the loudest voice here today.